In this video, we're going to have a little discussion about how you connect your van to EHU. So with electric hookup, before we show you the little safety tips, it's worth mentioning that not all cables are created equal. So the cable that we use has a 2.5mm core. Now, we have it on a handy reel, albeit the handy reel does take up a bit of space. But this cable in my hand here has a 2.5mm core. Now, a link to the cable that we use is in our Amazon storefront, and the Amazon storefront link is always in the description below of all of our videos. But the next question, and this question absolutely brings lots of different views, opinions and comments to us and everyone in the motorhome forums that I'm part of, is how long should your cable be? We started off with a 10-metre cable and we quickly realised it wasn't enough. I have had some viewers say that they've had 15-metre cables and that's always been enough. We use a handy 25-metre cable. Now, of course, that does mean it's a little heavier, and you may spend an extra 30 seconds reeling all that 25 metres back in when you're leaving. But really, what would you do with that extra 30 seconds? I can't think of much I would do in 30 seconds. So let's go and plug this van in to an electric hookup then. Well, the first thing to note is you have on your electric cable a male end, and that goes into the actual campsite power supply. And on the van side, you have the female one. It's got a handy flap on it. Now, that flap is there partly for your protection. Why? Well, we'll discuss that in just a moment. So the first thing to do before you actually connect your van up to an electric hookup on campsite is to make sure that the control panel in your motorhome or campervan is turned off. Why do we do this? Because it reduces the chances of tripping any fuses or RCDs in the van. The next thing we do, of course, is we take the female side with this handy protective cover and we put it into the van. Now, there is a specific way to fit it into the van. I have seen people attempting to do this incorrectly, so for the benefit of all, we will show you how to do it correctly now. Basically, you will see that as the plug is going into the socket at the side of the van, the flap that was protecting the front of that socket is now at 90 degrees to that, and that flap actually goes inside the hole, the surrounding hole of where the plug is situated on the side of the van. You make sure that it clicks in securely into the side of the van. And to release the cable, of course, when you're finished on campsite and you've unplugged it from the mains electric on the campsite, there is a little black catch just here. You need to push that down and it releases the cable. Then, of course, everyone, you're going to want to connect up the other end of that cable to that lovely electric. But to do that, you must unwind all of the cable off the cable tidy. Now, I can't stress this enough, everyone. It is an absolute risk. It is a fire hazard if you do not take all the cable off the cable tidy. It should not be left in a wound fashion. There is a risk of overheating and therefore there is a fire risk. Then, of course, we plug the other end of the cable into the campsite, which is very easy, as you can see in the little clip on the video now. And I usually have a cursory glance at the RCD next to it, which is of course the trip for that electric in case something goes wrong, just to make sure it's in its working position. So why do we do it in that particular order? Well, we mentioned the flap on the end of the one end of the cable, the end that goes into the van. Well, the reality is the reason why that's a female connection and it's got a flap on it is because some people unfortunately go and connect their cable to the campsite electric hookup first. And the problem with this is you are potentially, at least particularly in the UK, walking across a wet grass with 240 volt cable that's now live. You must always plug the van side in first and plug it into the electric on the campsite second. That way you are not walking across the grass or wherever it is you're walking carrying a cable that's got 240 volts going through it. And then while we're talking, of course, about electric hookup cables, what if you want to plug in your van at home? If you want to do that, you will need an adapter, a bit like this one. These are a few pound on Amazon. They're in our storefront link, which is underneath this video in the description below. We are of course in the UK, so this adapter has a 3-pin plug on one end, and it has the female connection to receive the standard electric hookup cable in the other end. It's very useful, particularly if you store your van at home. Unfortunately, we don't store our van at home, but if we travel to friends or family, we get some lovely free electric.